Good morning. We are reading 14 lessons in yogi philosophy and Oriental occultism. We are on the 13th lesson, which is spiritual cause and effect. The doctrine of spiritual cause and effect is based upon the great truth that under the law, each man is practically the master of his own identity, his own judge, his own rewarder, his own awarder of punishment. That every thought, word, or action has its effects upon the future life or lives of the man, not in the nature of a reward or punishment, as these words are generally understood, but as the inevitable result of the great law of cause and effect. The operation of the law in surrounding us with certain sets of condition in a new birth is influenced by two great general principles: the prevailing desires, aspirations, likes and dislikes, and the longing of the individual at that particular stage of his existence, and by the influence of the unfolding spirit, which, pressing forward eagerly for fuller expression and less restraint, brings to bear upon the reincarnating soul of an influence which causes it to be governed in its selection of the desirable conditions of its new birth. Upon the apparently conflicting influences of these two great forces rests the whole matter of the circumstances and conditions surrounding the rebirth of the soul, and also many of the conditions surrounding the personality in the new life. For these conditions are governed greatly all through life by these conflicting or apparently conflicting forces. The urge of the desires, aspirations, and habits of the past life is strongly pressing the soul toward incarnation in conditions best fitted for the expression and manifestation of these likes, tastes, and desires. The soul wishes to go on along the lines of its past life and naturally seeks circumstances or surroundings best fitted for the freest expression of its personality. But at the same time, the spirit within the soul knows that the soul's unfoldment needs certain other conditions to bring out certain parts of its nature which have been suppressed or not developed. And so it exerts an attraction upon the reincarnating soul, drawing it a bit aside from its chosen course and influencing that desire, that choice to a certain degree. A man may have an overpowering desire for material wealth, and the force of his desire will cause him to choose circumstances and conditions for a rebirth into a family where there is much wealth, or into a body better suited for the attainment of his desires. But the spirit, knowing that the soul has neglected the development of kindness, will draw it a little aside and cause it to be brought into the sweep of circumstances which will result in the man being made to suffer pain, disappointment, and loss, even though he attained great wealth in his new life, to the end that he may develop that part of his nature. We may see illustrations of this last mentioned occurrence in some of the very rich men in America. They have been born into circumstances in which they have had the freest expression of the desire for material wealth. They have possessed themselves of faculties best adapted to that one end, and have managed to be surrounded with circumstances best calculated to give the freest manifestations of those faculties. They have attained their heart's desire and have piled up wealth in a manner unknown to former ages. But yet they are most unhappy and dissatisfied as a rule. Their wealth is a weight around their neck, and they are tormented by fears of losing it and the anxiety of attending to it. They feel that it has brought them no real happiness, but as on the contrary, separated them from their fellow men and from the happiness known to those of moderate means. They are feverish and restless and constantly on the search for some new excitement, which will divert their minds from the contemplation of their real condition. They feel a sense of duty toward the race, and although they do not quite understand the feeling behind it at all, they endeavor to balance matters by contributing to colleges, hospitals, charities, and other similar institutions which have sprung up in response to the awakening consciousness of the race to the reality of the brotherhood of man and the oneness of all. Before the end comes, they will feel in depths of their soul that this success has not brought them real happiness. And in the period of rest, which will follow their departure from the physical body, they will take stock of themselves and readjust their mental and spiritual affairs so that when they are again born, they will no longer devote their entire energies toward a piling up of wealth that they cannot use, but will live a more balanced life and will find happiness in unexpected quarters and will develop more spiritually. This is not because they have been impressed with the sense of any special wickedness in abnormal money getting, but because the soul has found that it did not secure happiness in that way and is seeking elsewhere for it. And because it has lived out the desire for wealth and has turned its attention to other things, had the spirit not exerted its influence, the man might have been born into the conditions tending to produce wealth, and yet not have been made to see the one-sidedness of such a life, in which case it would have continued to be possessed of such an abnormal desire for wealth that it would have been born again and again with increasing power each time until it would have become practically a money demon. But the spirit's influence always counteracts abnormal desires, although sometimes several incarnations have to be lived through before the soul wears out its desire and begins to be influenced by the spirit to a marked extent. Sometimes the spirit's influence is not sufficiently strong to prevent rebirth into conditions greatly favoring old desires. But in such cases, it is often able to manage affairs during the life of the man, so as to teach him the lesson needed to call a halt upon his unbridled desires. By bringing him into a sweep of the law of attraction and causing certain pain to befall him, certain disappointment, certain failures that will cause him to realize the pain, disappointment, failures, and sorrow of others, and to bring upon him a course of living which will help to unfold his higher faculties. Many of the sudden strokes of misfortune are really brought about by this higher principle of the man in order to teach him certain lessons for his own good. It is not necessarily a higher power which makes a man realize these lessons of life, but it is generally his own higher self, the spirit within him, which brings about these results. The spirit knows what is really best for the man, and when it sees his lower nature running away with him, tries to swing him from his course, or to bring him to a sudden stop if necessary. This is not a punishment, remember, but as the greatest kindness. The spirit is a part of that man and not an outside power, although it is a course of the divine part of him, the part of him in nearest touch with the great overruling intelligence, which we call God or universe unicorn. This pain is not brought about because of any feeling of righteousness, indignation, revenge, impatience, or any similar feeling on the part of the spirit, but is akin to the feeling of the most loving parent who is forced to take from the hands of the little child some dangerous thing which may injure the little one. It is the hand which draws back the child from the brink of the precipice, although the little one screams with rage and disappointment because its desires are frustrated. The man or woman in whom the spiritual mind is developed sees this condition of things, and instead of fighting against the spirit, yields himself or herself to it without friction, and obeys its guiding hand, and is thus saved much pain. But those who know not rage and rebel at the restraining and guiding hand, strike at it, and attempt to tear away from it, thereby bringing upon themselves bitter experience made necessary by their rebellion. We are so apt to resent outside influence in our affairs that this idea of restraint is not pleasure to us. But if we will only remember that it is part of ourselves, the higher part of us that is doing this directing, then we may see the thing is a different light. And we must remember this, that no matter how adverse circumstances or conditions seem to be for us, they are exactly what we need under just the circumstances of our lives, and have for their only object, our ultimate good. We may need strengthening along certain lines in order to round us out, and we are apt to get just the experiences calculated to round out that particular part of us. We may be tending too much in one direction, and we are given a check, an urge in another direction. These little things and great things all mean something. And then our interests are bound up more or less with those of others, owing to the laws of attraction, and our acts may be intended to reflect upon them and theirs upon us for our mutual development and ultimate good. We will have more to say on this subject a little later on. If we stand still and calmly consider our past life, the present life we mean, we will see that certain things have led to certain other things, and that small things have led to great things. That little turning points have resulted in an entire change in our life. We may trace back to the most important thing in our life, to some trifling incident or occurrence. We are able to look back and see how painful experiences of the past have strengthened us and have brought us to a larger and fuller life. We are able to see how that particular thing in the past, which seemed needlessly cruel and uncalled for, was the very thing which has brought us to some great thing in the present. All that is needed is the perspective of years. And if we get so that we are able to see this, we will be able to bear with a far greater degree of philosophy the pains and disagreeable occurrences of the present, knowing that they mean ultimate good. When we cease to think of these things as punishments or a wanton interference of some outside power or the cruelty of nature, and begin to see them as either the consequences of our own past lives or the result of the Spirit's directing hand, we will cease to protest and struggle as we have been doing in the past. And we will endeavor to fall in with the working of the great law, and will thereby avoid friction and pain. And no matter what pain, sorrow, or trouble we may be undergoing, if we will open ourselves to the guidance of the Spirit, a way will be opened out for us, one step at a time. And if we follow it, we will obtain peace and strength. The law does not heap upon a back more than it can bear. And not only does it temper the wind to the shorn lamb, but tempers the shorn lamb to the wind. We have spoken of our interests being bound up with those of others. This is also a principle of the law of spiritual cause and effect. In our past lives, we have attached ourselves to certain others, either by love or hate, either by kind action or by cruelty. And these people in this life have certain relationships to us, all tending toward mutual adjustment and mutual advancement and development. It is not a law of revenge, but simply the law of cause and effects, which causes us to receive a hurt when a hurt is needed from the hands of someone whom we have hurt in some past life. And is not merely a law of reward for good, but that same law of cause and effect that causes someone to bind up our wounds and comfort us, whom we have comforted and helped in some past life. The person who is caused to hurt us may have no intention of doing so, being a perfectly innocent party, but we are brought into conditions whereby we receive pain from the acts of that person, although he be unconscious of it. If he hurts us consciously and still in obedience to the law, it is because he is still on that plane and is willing to hurt us, and is brought by the law of attraction into a condition whereby we may receive hurt from him. But even that hurt is calculated to benefit us in the end. So wonderful is this law of cause and effect constituted. Of course, if we once reach the position where we see the truth, we do not need so many of these lessons, and their necessity having passed, the law allows us to escape that which would otherwise have given us pain. The above mentioned conditions of affairs may be illustrated by the case of one who in a past incarnation deliberately won the love of another for selfish reasons, and then having gratified the desire, willfully threw aside the other one, as one would a worn out toy. While not pretending to explain the exact working of the law in any particular case, we have been informed by those who have watched these matters from a higher point of view that in such a case as above mentioned, the betrayer would probably in this life fall violently in love with the person who was the victim in the last life, but the latter would be utterly unable to return that affection, and the former would suffer all the pain that comes to one who loves in vain, the result being that he would be brought to a realization of the sacredness of human affection and the unkindness of trifling with it. It will be noticed in this case that the person causing pain in the present life is a perfectly innocent party to the whole thing, and thereby does not start new causes and effects. Those whom we have loved and have been friendly to in past lives are very apt to be connected with our present life, being kept near us by the law of attraction. The people who are brought into close relations with us, in all probability, those with whom we have been close in past lives. Sudden likes and dislikes, so often observed between people, may be accounted for on this theory of rebirth. And many of the occurrences of our everyday lives come under this law of spiritual cause and effect. We are constantly bound up with the lives of others for pain or happiness, and the law must work out its course. The only escape from the complete working out of the law is the acquirement of the knowledge of the truth on our part and the consequent modeling of our lives on the lines of this higher truth, in which case we are relieved of the unnecessary lessons and we ride on top of the wave instead of having it submerge us. Let us be aware how we start into operation this law of cause and effect by hate, malice, jealousy, anger, and general unkindness toward others. Let us be as kind as we can in all justice to ourselves and others, and let us avoid feelings of hate and desire for revenge. Let us live on bearing our burdens, with as much grace as we can summon. Oops. Oh, Micheline has to go. Let us live on, bearing our burdens, with as much grace as we can summon, and let us always trust in the guidance of the Spirit and the help of the highest intelligence. Let us know that all is working together for good, and that we cannot be deprived of that good. Let us remember that this life is as but a grain of sand in the desert of time, and that we have long ages ahead of us, in which we will have a chance to work out all our aspirations and high desires. Be not discouraged, for God reigns and all is well. All right, I'll pause. I think we finished the chapter. I had so many thoughts running through my head as I was reading this.
What are you thinking?
Well, I just I feel like I could journal for days on this one.
Me too. It really resonated with me today. I really needed it, so I'm glad I showed up.
It's just when you take this, I take things very literally sometimes. I feel like I grew up and my parents did the best they could, but they did a really bad job at parenting. And I feel like I was not taught this in between. So when I hear this thing, I'm like, oh, when I read this, I take things very literally, like the past life thing. So then I become very judgmental because then, and this is stuff I have to work on myself. But when we first started reading today, the whole money thing, I work on Wall Street. I see these humans. I don't want to just create gender bias, but I see these humans daily, and I see it in myself too. I had told Eric one time, like, look, I can make a lot more money, but then we're moving to the city because I'm not commuting. I have to work longer hours. I'll have to network and client dinners. And I'm like, that's not
the life you want.
yeah, that's not the life work balance I want. And
Right.
so like, I can see how people get wrapped up in the money though, because I literally work with everyone on Wall Street. It's a greedy place. It just is.
That's
But then
why
as
that's
what?
basically why I'm quitting my job. That's why I quit my job, because they wanted me to be that person.
Yeah, where you're just like working around the clock.
Mhm.
Like I've already done that. I mean, I'm approaching. I've been in my job like I don't know 18 years. I started in 2004, so whatever that is. I can't. I'm very good at math, but years confuse me. So
16 years.
16 years. It feels longer. Like when I first started working, I was 12 hours at my desk. I was 6:15 to 6:15. I was out to client or happy hours after. I was in bed at like 9 and then I was back up at 5:30. And there was no room for anything else. Like there'd be no room for this. There was no room for exercise. There was no room for like family. But I did that. And I think we all do have to put that work in for our careers, but I don't think it needs to be like a lifelong thing. And when there was something I read and I just loved it. I should have just paused. But I loved toward the end, like Amanda has spoke about like, I forget what she calls them, but like our soul circles, our soul families, like
Yeah.
where
The
she
souls
feels,
that always stay together.
yeah. And like if someone dies, like so my sister died. And so this can be very relatable to all of us. Like we have all suffered whatever type of pain in our lives, and no one's is better or worse, but that the section where they talked about like this incredibly painful thing happened in my life, and I didn't have these tools, so it took me a good 10 years to figure it out. But after that 10-year mark, and I started studying this philosophy, I was able to work through it. Like that painful experience changed me for the better. Otherwise, I'd be still, if my sister was still here, it'd be great for me. But who knows, one, if we'd be even talking, because you know how family is. Who knows? Like, I can only imagine, but like that, I had to accept that that was her path, that she was put on this earth for 20 years. She did her work and she's doing better work wherever she is now. Like, she was just bigger and better than this human earth. And I'm grateful that she chose me to be her sister because I can help carry her legacy on. And like, it took my blinders off. Otherwise, I'd be walking around as clueless as like the next person. So I can see how people can take these like very painful situations and use them however they want. They can. I remember my sister died. I had just graduated college. I laid in bed for 3 weeks. The only thing that got me out of bed was my dog, Kramer. And I'd have to take him out for a walk. And I remember laying there and I'm like, look, I just graduated college. I can either lay in bed for the rest of my life and become like a drug junkie, or I can get up and do something with my life. And I remember making that decision. And I was like, I'm going to get up and go do something, because she wouldn't want me to just like sit here and waste my life away. Not to say that people that do that are wasting their life, that's just their path. But I would have felt like it would have been a waste for my life. And I do believe in like this generational trauma, and I do think that we can stop it. So like, and Ashley Law, who teaches at Rev sometimes too, she just had a baby. She was joining in the morning too. Domenica, were you on when Ashley was joining?
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah. So she did this like feminine workshop, and this idea of like, as in this current life, I can heal my mother's trauma for her. I can help her heal her mother's trauma, or I can help my mother heal her trauma by sitting here, and I can help my own past and future traumas. And if I was to have children, their future traumas or their traumas or past traumas. And it's a crazy thing. Like, if you really, to me, it's crazy if you believe that. And I'm not saying I don't believe it, because I do the work. So I feel like maybe I do believe it, but like this idea of cause and effect.
Yeah, I definitely believe the cause and effect thing. I'm still having trouble, and I'm not sure if I believe in it. And maybe it's not a big deal in the rebirth thing.
Yeah, I know. I still don't know what I believe, but I'm just going with it. I'm just reading it with like an open heart and open mind.
Yeah. Or when they say the rebirth, I'm just like, I try to think of it like through your life. Like, I don't know.
Like I have,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
No, just the rebirth, like through your life, you go through different paths in your life and you begin again. So
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, that's the way I've been trying to think of it.
And not only that, but like the fact that you're like stuck with the same people. I'm like, why do I keep attracting these same people? Maybe next time, maybe this time I really woke up and next time I'll be better. I don't know. But yeah, no, I think it's weird that like, I don't know. It's like such a weird thing that someone came up with this. Like the attracting of people.
I do that too. I attract the same people that I realize, like, oh my God, this is not what's fulfilling the life that or path that I want. And then I'm wondering, like, I have to self reflect, because why am I like continuously attracting like these individuals, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like that part's like it's, you know what it is? I'm like, I don't have like OCD, but it doesn't fit my like how it doesn't fit like this puzzle that I have in my head of like, oh, how the heck did this person, if I pissed off someone in my last life and now it's their turn to piss me off. Like, and I meet them at like the grocery market. Like, it's just so weird, like how it feels like a big video game, and whoever's controlling it is like, how are they so smart that they can control this? It just feels like a big video game.
I definitely do notice that like if I meditate and I purposely try to not acquire something, but I guess like I try to meditate. I especially, okay, like my mother, for example, is a hard person to be around, but she has good intentions. And we used to fight a lot. So now because, we have like different, ways of doing things, and she's like very like headstrong. So, but before I spend time with her, I make sure that I think a lot about like, oh, we're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a good day. Like I just keep like repeating that, and I meditate about it, and then our relationship is much better now, and we don't get to that fighting point. So I guess all I'm trying to say is I don't know if is it the law of attraction, or am I manifesting it, or I don't know, but I definitely realize that I need a lot of alone time. Like I can't overdo it then. Like I can't spend like 2 days in a row with her, because that second day won't be good, because I haven't had that time to like for myself. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm finding that I need more and more time for myself in order to be a better human. I think. I don't know if that's me lying to myself, but that's what I think I need. I've been spending a lot of time alone because I think I need it.
Yeah, I hear you. I've been saying this to people with the whole Harrison tragedy. It's like people are like, oh, is this the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do? I'm like, I think if it comes from your heart, then it's always the right thing. So like, are being quiet and silencing for the better of you and your mother's relationship, and you're not trying to change her at all, then
No.
I think you're doing, and you're doing it from a place of like love and compassion, then I think there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're doing it, if you're taking this knowledge, and I think this is what people do, not us, but not, of course not us, but take this and they use it to the advantage and they try to manipulate people. So like if you were to take this information and start manipulating the people in your circle instead of like leading by example, I think that's where that like I forget what I meant, but like people use it and use these powers in very negative ways. Because like what you're talking about, Domenica, feels very powerful to me that you're able to do that for yourself. Like whether you're manifesting it or attracting it, it's like still happening.
Right.
And so we can take that and we can try to use it on other people, and that is not good. They need to figure it out themselves. So we need to like teach them how to do it for themselves when they're ready for it.
Yeah. I mean, I still have plenty of work to do.
Me too.
And the work is every day. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's do some breath work and meditate. It's already 10. I was thinking of Sue yesterday so much. I missed her.
I've been thinking of Sue a lot too. I hope she's all right.
Yeah.
I think it's just because we haven't seen her in a while.
I know. I'll text her and see if she's okay. I don't know why I was thinking of her.
Well, maybe she's writing something about in her book
Yeah.
that speaks to you. Who knows, right? That's what she wanted to do, work on her book.
Yeah. I think just maybe spend time with her family because, her grandson was closer. So.
Oh, right.
All right. Let's sit up nice and tall. Create that long breath in and out. I'm going to bring our right hand over to the face. Close the right nostril with the thumb. Inhale through the left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. A few more rounds on your own breath. When you feel ready, you'll release that. You want to take 3 rounds of bumblebee breath. You close your ears with the thumbs, peace fingers over the eyes. Inhale and exhale with the lips sealed, creating a humming sound at the back of the throat. It'll create vibrations in the body. The breath will sound like a bumblebee. I've been hearing and feeling a lot of anxiety from others and myself. And something that helps me with my anxiety is the 2 to 1 breath. So you'll inhale for 3 or 4 and exhale for 6 or 8. So you're doubling the exhale. So when you inhale for, let's say, 4 counts, You'll exhale for 8. You'll find the count that works for you. And if you want to use this breath through your meditation today, you can do it for the full 20 minutes or however long it feels good for you. I have to do this every time I go to the doctors, or like you were saying, Domenic, like anytime I'm encountering a tough situation, I just spend, and it works really fast for me. Like even if something's happening outside and I just need to take 90 seconds, I create that 4 in, 8 out. So just want to offer that. I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. And you'll join us when you feel ready. I'm going to go on hard bench today, so I'm going to hide my video. Bringing hands to heart center. Namaste. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.